whatever your brand persuasion, you got to admit it, the Challenger Hellcat looks pretty damn bad. And they're about to detonate your preconceptions on the genre. 707 horsepower, supercharged V8, which is a first for Dodge. But you might have seen this somewhere before. Recognize this? Well, you should, because Dodge have a very rich legacy from which to draw, and they are not shy about doing it. Inspired in many ways by its 1971 predecessor, you can see those elements of design incorporated, but with a modern twist. But this is where the magic still happens. Just take a look at that. None of that European style cladding there. That is an engine bay designed to be seen. The 6.2 litre Hemi V8 you're looking at there is the first application of supercharger technology in the brand's history. So this is how it goes. The air goes in there. It's supercharged on the way into the engine. You give it the horsepower, you control it through the TorqueFlite 8-speed automatic, and then you put it to the ground through these SRT exclusive forged aluminum 20 by 9.5 wheels. And of course, these amazing set of Pirelli P0 tires. And you stop it with the largest front brake package ever offered in an SRT vehicle. For me, this pretty much sums up the Challenger Hellcat experience. When you go and pick yours up from the dealership, they will give you two sets of keys. Black ones, which is for driving around town, behaving yourself. Red ones, which unlock all the goodies from SRT. That was a little naughty, but nice. I did feel better though. Now I'm obviously in default mode, which is how the car starts up from cold, which is the most compliant, and the compliance and the ease of drivability which comes from the suspension setup in its softest mode is very important. You know, I've driven a lot of big cars, big engine cars that when you're driving them in an urban environment really do feel that it's only a veil of civility. They're actually too much for the situation. But to be honest, driving the Challenger Hellcat has actually been very relaxing and, dare I say it, practical. It's a pretty easy to drive everyday vehicle. But at the same time, you know, you have all that horsepower just at your disposal, and you only have to do that to remind yourself it's all there. Talk about a dual personality. So in the spirit of some street drag racing, I'm going to pull to a stop here. I set it to the quarter-mile reaction timer, hit the OK button, 4, 3, 2, 1, and my reaction wheel spin, then the traction control cuts. We go across the bridge. Well, that felt pretty quick to me, and it really is, because NHRA just certified the Challenger Hellcat as doing the quarter mile in 11.2 seconds. Now that's faster than a Camaro ZL1 and a Shelby GT500. Seriously, in the spirit of the muscle car, a genuinely fast drag car. Now, while we've established that the Hellcat is very fast in a straight line, some of the European preconceptions about a muscle car is that they don't go around corners. Well, I happen to know that the SRT and Dodge brand team worked very hard to make this very good at that. So, the famous red key, a racetrack, and red hot conditions. And you know, we've already established that around town, this is a very comfortable, flexible car to drive. But remember, this, on paper, has the most outrageous performance package. Now, there's a reason they gave this to me. I suggest we find out why. So now I've selected my drives mode into the track. Obviously, building up some speed with all this horsepower, you do have to approach your optimal driving levels with a little bit of discretion, because especially in this heat, the grip level is down. Heading onto the straight here, first thing that strikes my mind is it really does have very good high-speed stability. Now obviously they really had to work at that. They spent over 35% longer in the Chrysler wind tunnels because they knew that the top speeds this car would be able to achieve would require the sort of aerodynamic trimming out that hasn't really been done before on a muscle car. At highway cruising speeds, you just have something that's glued to the ground. The engine is talking to me the whole way around at every moment. And of course, supercharged power is just sublime because no turbo lag. You get that fluid rolling on of all that torque, which actually really allows you as a driver to balance the car right on the edge of the slip angle by modulating the throttle. It's incredibly accurate. I mean, I can put it absolutely on a dime onto those apexes, and that allows me to really mash the gas on the exit using all the road and therefore all the dynamics of the chassis. But if it wasn't so accurate from turning through to apex, I mean, it still is a heavy car. You've got to respect the laws of physics. But if you do, and you get it exactly right, you actually have quite a big window within which to play. Now, you don't really associate a muscle car with a sophisticated gearbox, but on the Hellcat here, we actually have an 8-speed automatic. For track purposes, I've slid it across to the manual mode, which allows me to use the paddle shifters up here. Mid-corner, feeding on the power, working my way out. Now, a lot of people who would dismiss any vehicle with 707 horsepower because they'd say you simply can't put the power down to the ground. Now, that, in my short experience with the Hellcat, is not actually true, especially if you keep the very sophisticated traction control systems engaged. God, look at it come off this corner. Just breaks away, rolling on the throttle. The rear's just coming round as I exit. God, that's formidable. And of course, it really is, on paper, quite an intimidating beast. But don't be put off. It's very controllable. You obviously will go to whatever limits you're comfortable with. But you know, there's always another 10%. You know what? In many ways, that was absolutely breathtaking. That combination of all the muscle DNA, everything that Detroit's famous for, the horsepower, the torque, and yet it's that blend with modern day sophistication and performance capabilities. Think about this. I drove over 200 miles out here. I then thrashed the living daylights out of it, right to the edge of its and my abilities. And now I'm gonna drive it home. That says a lot about what this car can do. I mean, when you think about it, it's the perfect blend. Perfect, bad looking vehicle. Now, of course, you don't normally associate it. I would say it's about, you know, going to ballet class and finding a linebacker has actually got the sweetest feet. You know what I mean? It's almost, linebackers aren't rude to say that, is it? A quarterback that can dance. It's really like American football. The quarterback's formidable, but boy, he can dance. His feet move fast. I think that's the way to put it. That's the analogy.